and getting ready to sell it. That's scary but exciting at the same time.
And
What
if you
else
have a
have I been
link,
doing?
put it in there. Put it in the chat box if you end up
Oh,
with the link.
absolutely, absolutely. I'll just put my website in there because I'll make it live once. Probably like next week I'll have it live. But then yeah, so that, and then what else have I been doing, Mickey? I've been doing a lot.
Well, you've got your expansion on your oil line.
Oh yeah, and then my spices as well.
And your spices.
So I launched a new
So
spice.
make sure you introduce yourself
Oh
to
yeah,
everybody.
sorry. So I am a serial entrepreneur, I like to say. I have multiple businesses, which is good and a bad thing because it's a lot. But I have my own spice company, and then I have my own hair and beard oil company, and then now I'm launching the planners, and then I have a podcast. And so outside of all those things, I do that, and I coach and I teach full time. So I'm a little crazy, but it's all great. I launched a spice the end of October. It's French toast, but that's the inspiration. And I sold 100 bottles. So now I'm like, do I want to give more of those, or I don't know. So we'll see what that looks like. So yeah, I'm Brianna. That's me. I'll put my website and all of this there, and then you can friend me on Facebook. Brianna Edwards is my name because I haven't met some of you ladies here. But yeah.
All right. Well, welcome. I'm glad I want to kind of come through the thing and go, oh my God, I want to hug you and go.
I know it's been. I'm sorry, Mickey. It's been a lot going on, like life stuff.
Yes, I know. I know. I stalk you. I stalk you on Facebook. I stalk all of you on Facebook, actually. So, okay. Nancy Hall, where have you been? I haven't seen you in so long. Welcome.
I know. Talk about stalking, honey. I've been stalking you.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's not as exciting as probably you. But.
Now I've been managing health more than anything. And I'm succeeding. So that's a creative process that's kind of overwhelming, but I'm getting there. So that's why I've been sort of incognito or AOL. But my name is Nancy Hall, and I don't know any of you guys really. I don't except for Karen and you, Mickey, really is what I remember.
You'll end up with 10, 12 new friends.
Awesome. But what the reason I joined in is, first of all, I'm feeling better. But mostly I have this strong desire to, you're going to think this is nutty, but I want to create a television series. I wake up often with a new episode. And so I've been creating the storyboards. And every time I turn around, because I have a strong trust in universe and things coming your way if you are resident and aware. And every time I turn around, we have a Zoom group and that we grabbed from friends when we used to live in Boston, and one of our pals, Gary, showed up. We haven't talked with him in years and years. Turns out he's a special effects person who won a Tony, not Tony. What's the Globe? Oh, wow. And I'm like, Gary, what the hell? So we had some fun time, and I just keep turning. Every time I turn around, I find, I found out that my dear friend's husband has been silently trying to create his own series, but quit about a year ago because it just didn't fit. But apparently, you have to have lawyers to get any pilot ever in Hollywood going. And anyway, so I learned a lot from him. Anyhow, so I thought, you know what, Mickey's always been a golden key for me, and you come up with this thing about co-creation. I'm like, I got to figure out what that means. So I don't know if I'm in the right class or not, Mickey, but if I'm not, send me where I need to go.
You are absolutely in the right spot. You are absolutely in the right spot. So for all of you who have tips for Nancy, I would just stick them in the side. Jamie, and you're going to end up some other pieces here because you're going through some of that right now. So if you have tips for her, send it in.
Thank you.
She'll like it. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Carolyn, you're new to us. You're old from us, but new to us. Give us your introduction. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Carolyn Kolovitz, and I am a spiritual counselor, a retreat and workshop facilitator, and I'm in the process. I work for Loyola Spirituality Center in St. Paul. I do some work through there. I do some work through various churches and different places, but a friend and I are in the beginning stages of looking at starting our own spirituality center and a spirituality and arts center. I have a theater background, and she is a writer, and we have a dancer choreographer that's looking to join us as well. So yeah, have some interesting things going on, and just checking you all out as far as a good fit for a group, and it's so fun to meet you and hear what you're all working on.
Good. Okay. Well, again, if you have tips for Carolyn on the Spiritual Center, or if you have any other things, Carolyn, if you have some ID tags or something that they can check in, that would be great, so they can kind of get an idea of the work you're already doing.
Yep.
So that would be great. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome. I hope you enjoyed class today. Kathy, where are you? Are you on a phone? Where are you? Jamie, and I'm coming to you afterwards.
I'm on a phone because I couldn't get in via my computer, and I am multitasking. So I will come video when I can.
Okay. We'll take you as is with these big letters.
Well, thanks. So I've been busy, but it's starting to slow down, and I'm trying really hard not to freak out. So, I'm Kathy Pargard. My business is Everything Beautiful. I'm a selection designer, so I'm not going to help you pick out furniture or curtains, but I will help you create a cohesive space when you remodel. So think about flooring and plumbing and cabinets and paint and hardware and tile and all the things that you didn't know that you needed to know. My job is to help navigate you through that and make your space beautifully cohesive and function really, really well. So that's me in a nutshell. So work's been busy. I'm having the time of my life. Trying not to freak out that things are slowing down a little bit, and just trying to remember that this is a great time to breathe and pivot, and maybe get some of the things done that I procrastinate on. But yeah. So this is the first, November was the first month of year to date that I did not have substantial growth over the year prior. But this time last year was also my busiest month. So I'm not feeling bad about it at all. Things are good.
Good. Well, welcome back. We don't always get you, so I really love hearing, what you're doing, and you've got a lot of growth. I will tell you personally on a side note that Kate, for those of you who remember Kate Miner, she and her husband closed on a house yesterday, and I did tell her to give you a call. So,
Thanks.
yes. So anyway, so you can just call Kate and congratulate her. But big deal. She put in, she put in that manifestation of exactly what she wanted, and she got exactly what she wanted. So in both the house and the price. So that was kind of fantastic. So
Amazing.
Okay, Jamie, and you've got an enormous amount to tell us. Please give us your update. Glad you're in. Sorry, that was my screw up.
Okay, I'm Jamie, and
this is our new thing.
Bonus child, Ella. Do not lick me. This is my new bonus child, Ella, and she's a puppy, about a year old. I'm her stepmom, and we are learning each other every day. I don't know. Every day. I'm an empty nester. You go get one of these things. I don't know who thought to do that, but I do. But I am also a serial entrepreneur. My main business is rental real estate, but I'm a private chef, and I curate experiences throughout the year, different kinds and that type of stuff, amongst having a lot of other things to do. I actually am out of the One Spice, Brianna, not the French toast yet, but the One Spice. I actually tested it out on all of my clients, since I've gotten it. Like, I've replaced almost all the seasonings just to see what they like and get their opinions back from that. Spicy. So my clients who like spice love it. FYI. The French toast went on my butter roll last night, which I usually use a cinnamon sugar thing. And the people didn't know the difference. They liked it. So I replaced the cinnamon and the nutmeg with the French toast mixture and with my brown sugar, and they seem to love it. So anyways, there we go with the icing. So
Yeah, I'm hearing a thumbs up. I didn't know there was a French toast mixture. What?
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I like it's in like it's like in a small. It says like a French toast on it. It's just that's the
Yeah.
information behind it. But yeah, people are like, why
Like,
you?
I don't remember that out of the lineup. Okay, well,
Oh,
you
it
can
was
tell
it was
me.
the new one.
Oh, it's
Yep.
new. Oh, so I'm not out of the line. Okay.
Yep.
All right, Jamie, keep going, keep going. I didn't want to miss something. Good.
So, so anyway, so yeah, so I do these like these things. So right now, actually, I'm just waiting for be seen on BET. One of my clients, I cook for a lot of celebrity clients, but I cook for one of the new draft picks. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, Sandy. Um, I pick one of the first round draft picks for the Hornets is there's done a 5 series show with BET, and we were filmed for a couple of weeks through it. We don't know where we'll be showed, but I think they're progressing through the story. So the part of the story I'm in is those who didn't go to G League but went to the full league and what their life is now. So yesterday was episode number 2. It comes on Tuesdays, 10 Central, 11 Eastern time. Clutch Academy is what it's called. The owner of Clutch Academy has actually, if anybody follows sports, he actually changed the game of being a sports agent, teaching especially young African American athletes basically how to control their money, teaching them the things that agents normally does. He's the first agent to make athletes get their contracts paid in full upfront. So then if they were to get hurt or something were to happen, and he's also the first person to attack LeBron James and LeBron James' team, which changed the course of how people become agents. So this new show and stuff like that, as that rolls out, is kind of a little bit of a scary thing. So I've been just really tweaking my responses, what comes back in emails, getting my reviews up on my website and that type of stuff. I hired a PR person that's been kind of auditing things and doing stuff in preparation for what could happen or be seen as far as that goes. So that's a really good thing. I have a new game that came out. Take a shot, sis.
Oh yeah, this is also your cash cow, right?
My one of 2 Christmas cash cows that came out. Take a shot, sis, was a game that me and my partner and assistant came up with after a horrible trip to St. Thomas. And
Recently.
Yeah, recently. And she was like, we were sitting on the plane and they were like, oh, we should ask these people advice on creating a game. I'm like, no, let's just create the damn game right now. So we literally sat on the plane, created the game, came up with all the questions, sent it to one of our graphic designers to design it, do it, and went to print. I had a goal of selling 100 by yesterday. We were one short of 100, so I bought the 100th one.
Good for you. Good for you. You should just put the link in. Just put the link in, and let somebody else be the 100th and one.
Yep. So take a shot. This is a drinking game for your friends, girlfriends. You don't have to drink alcohol. You can drink juice. But it's the questions that you didn't want to ask your good sis. So those questions, it's a great game. So yeah, there is that. And then we have a New Year's Eve charity thing coming up, which Brianna forgot to say. She's also the manager for Ashley Henderson, who
Right.
is, if you guys are not following her online, you should be. You better become her friend now, because in 365 days from now, if not sooner, she's going to be the hottest comedian there is out there. She is hands down one of the funniest. So she's coming to grace us in Charlotte for my charity event.
Oh, good.
We had a goal of this week and she has stopped 3 comedians when I said she's open, or she's our main headliner, because I'm serious about the experience. And even though the people here don't know her name. Those who don't know me, curating the experience and how people leave is very important to me. Not necessarily who's going to be there, who's what, but just if there's 1 people or 100 people there, I want them to leave feeling a certain type of way. And I know the comedy that Ashley has is going to accomplish that. So we've had several comedians that are like, they don't want to open for her. And 2 of them, basically, they know her work. They don't want to follow her either.
No, I wouldn't want to follow her.
I wouldn't want to follow her either. So, I wouldn't want to be the person after her. So we've had a little bit of, but we think we got Miss Pat. If you don't know her, Brianna, I love her. And so, and she was, so anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of everything I have going on. This week we were trying to secure about $15,000 in sponsorships, and we're about $2,500 short of that for the charity event on New Year's Eve. So, and we just kind of have lightly started selling tickets, so that'll push out. So anyways, that's what I do in a nutshell. I am still figuring out staff and what that is. I am not the nicest boss, I found out. I am not, when I have stuff to do. Now that I have this, I am not I think it's a matter of, I'm still trying to find a combination of who can not be so sensitive when we're doing and executing things. Even finding, even one of the assistants is great. She's not offended by other ones. 2 of them are of the people that work with us are just really emotional, and we just are not going to click, but I need them right now. So I'm trying to figure out how to
how to move them into position.
Yeah, and how to whatnot, and just how do I find somebody who has a little bit thicker skin on certain days. So we're in 30-day push. And so I'm every day spewing out things to them on a consistent basis. And some of them just get they just can't even process quick enough or get on time, or, deadlines are just briefly being met and stuff. So that's where I'm at with navigating and collaborating with other people and other things. It's just realizing that some people's work ethic is just not mine. Trying to figure out, some days I want to say, forget your family, come work. but
no, we don't get to do that. But yes,
but I don't get to do that. But that's me. But I just realized my work ethic is not the same as everybody else's, and that I just really need to figure out to find at least one assistant that just has a little bit tougher skin.
And that's in hiring, right? Always be hiring, ABH, always be hiring, always be hiring, always be hiring. And you and I can also have that conversation offline, because there's some tips for you. I have some tips for you. Brianna, if you want to put the information on some of your items in the corner, that would be great. Carolyn, thank you so much for putting that in there. Jamian, you're rolling, girl. We love this. If you have something in there for the BET, please put in your new website. You worked all summer on that. You were in our summer cohort. Brianna, you made it almost all the way through our summer cohort until your life came up. So hopefully we'll see you again next summer, right? Hoping to, pull you back in. Danny, I don't see your info in here, so please put that in there. Kathy, I'm not seeing yours. We definitely want to work on that beautiful website. Kudos to Sandy for putting her information in. And then Janet Mills, do you ever put in your info? Do we have a website? No. Janet's just hiding. She just creatively works in a closet, I guess.
Yep.
But you could put in the magazine that you do. That would be great.
And my phone number and email.
Yeah, phone number, email. But I think everybody would love to see that magazine. We don't get enough of it. Janet's been doing the same magazine for quite a while.
25.
I'm sorry, what?
For 25 years, and that's when I got the award.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, can we see the award again?
Well, I didn't design the award, so it's sort of but ugly.
Can you
but-
hold it up for a second? What are you,
Okay.
you're robbing us here. Oh, that is fantastic. Congratulations. Yeah, we're clapping. Yeah. That's wonderful. Okay, so anyway, Mickey Mikeworth, I am your hostess today. As you may or may not know, I am back in Minneapolis. I've been traveling for quite some time. I do a work away month. This year I extended it. Everybody noticed that I was gone longer. So this last year we were in, I just came back from the state of Washington. And next year, I'm going to try to get the next rainforest in the United States, which may end up having me in Jamian's backyard, which is North Carolina, has a rainforest. So you may see me next October. Yes. So
Wow, you can come visit our winery that we will have opening in
Right.
August.
right. I might have to get the Jamian tour the first week that I'm there. So that's, I got a map. That's my first step in that. And I got the okay. So we'll see what happens there. So thank you all for coming. I'm so glad you're here. This topic is really important because a lot of you, again, you're going to be needing each other. You're going to be needing other people, and you're gonna kind of have to have some ideas. This is a big write down notes. So when I went through to review the class today, we have between 18 and 26 key points for you. So keep your head on. I might have packed too much content in it. If I have, what I kind of decided this morning is that I probably need to give you guys a cheat sheet on today's topic because there's so much content. So if you are missing it, remember that Karen records these and they're all on YouTube. So for those of you who want to see your own progress, go back and look at all of the YouTube videos. I was looking through them the other day. We now have almost 40 hours of pure content of all of you guys growing. So we get to see all of you that pop on the screen and off the screen, and we get to see you in winter and summer, and it's kind of fantastic. So definitely go back to the content if you need it. And so I'm going to stop video of me, and then I'm going to start sharing the screen. Hopefully it will not freeze on me. Normally I come in on 2 screens. So we'll see if I can make magic today. So today's content is really about co-creation. So one of the things that I'm hoping for is that you guys can get some ideas. We are going to be using the chat box here in a few minutes, and there's going to be 3 lists. So you've got 18 to 24 key points. The reason it's between 18 and 24 is it depends on how much you need on one of these pages. And it's the page that I'll show 3 times. So I'll show that screen 3 times in today's class. Today I chose, Janet Mills loves our slides. So in honor of Janet Mills today, I chose the color green as our theme. And it's really to talk about how much money has many shadings and offerings. So when you are thinking about money and how you create wealth and what you're doing, there's a million different ways to do it. The chat box is going to be your superpower. Karen is here to interrupt me, or you can interrupt me. You can always ask a question whenever you're here. But the chat box is your superpower. It's going to pop up on everybody's screen. It is how you get good ideas. It is how you connect. And Karen will always interrupt me if you have a question. But co-creation is a business tool. And the goal today for me and you is to work on that prosperity synergy, right? How do you get the energy and the creative forces moving in a way that it doesn't feel like a hardship, that it's effort that can flow a little more dynamically. If I was going to just kind of throw something at you, it stopped doing it, right? That's why we created Mastermind Group, that we want you to stop doing it alone. We want you to be part of the group, and, you know, stop trying to do everything by yourself, but you're going to need some tools on how to work with people. I think I just saw VJ come in the room. Are you here, VJ?
Hey, good morning. I'm in the
Hey, good
room.
morning. Please say hello to everyone and then put your new website in the chat box. Welcome,
Okay.
VJ. We're glad to see you. Can you give us
Okay.
a quick intro of you?
Okay. I'll do a quick intro. I wasn't
Hey, VJ.
expecting that, but
Hey,
hey,
VJ.
everybody. Hey, I'm VJ Smith, former president of National President of Mad Dads and the current CEO of Hope Dealer International. Hey, Brianna's on here.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
You know,
all right.
we have a full, fantastic group today.
Well, that's
It's,
wonderful.
you know, we love having you. And VJ, this is a topic that you're going to really enjoy. So
Okay.
we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go back to screen share. Welcome, my friend. Glad you're here. Again, our goal is, again, synergy. How do you kind of keep moving forward? And the first thing you're going to want to do is really understand who's your stakeholder. And that stakeholder for you is you. You are one of the primary stakeholders. So I want you to think about who the other stakeholders are. Let me see if I can go. So when you think about stakeholders, what's the goal? What are you trying to create? Is you're trying to create value. And so when we go, you know, to what are you trying to create, as Nancy, as you're moving forward with your partners, with these stakeholders, you're really looking to go, how can they create, how's the value created? And then walking away with this idea of how much value can they measure from the relationship. And I think that's a key part for you, is giving them something that they can measure. And stakeholders will often not participate unless it creates value. So I would really focus in your co-creation is to understand the value, not just the value you're bringing, but the value they're receiving and the value the outcome is receiving. So when we're looking at the shows, some of you are doing a lot of very showcasing items with podcasts and live performances, that, you know, what is the audience getting? What are the people who are supporting that product getting? And what are you getting? And when you're looking for partnerships, that's one of the things that you really want to identify right away. So the 3 lists that you're going to be working on as your homework is, I'm going to introduce some new concepts. VJ, you may not have heard this, but we've got between 18 and 20 some points that you'll want to write down. So it's a big note-taking time, but you'll want to create 3 lists for yourself as homework. And the first one is really just the ideas and the topics. And I wrote that as a thing, right? So like noun, person, place, or thing. Really think about the ideas and topics that you want to facilitate in your co-creating. And I'll give you some more examples of that as we go through. And people that you want to partner with, why? And that's both for you and for them. So if I'm thinking about just what Sandy had said at the beginning, right, of what is she doing? She's partnering also with an idea, right, that she likes more competition. So she is co-creating there. She's co-creating without the other person actually, but right, she's saying, look, this is how I have to be able to bring a new vibe to what I'm doing. And that vibe that she's talking about is a co-creation tool. So when you look at people to partner with, why are you partnering with them? And what is it that you bring to them? And some of you, that is, you know, ideas, that's knowledge, that's energy, that's a lot of things. And then financially, again, you always know I'm going to lead you to money, right? I like money in the door. Money only buys one thing. It's going to buy you some choices. And everyone on this on this meeting is somebody that's great with choices. All of you are good with money. You understand it. You want to work through it. It's very interesting. So when you're thinking about products, I would think about products that you can create with the help of others, that you might not have the bandwidth or the other resources, but you can create them. I chose this image for those of you who don't recognize my husband. He's the one in the middle. This is his 67 miles in 60 in one day. So he runs on his birthday, and he'll run that in 18 miles. What happens is that people will come with him on that run. The gentleman on the far left, he just heard about this. And this is actually a great example of how we co-create in ways we don't even know. This guy literally heard through the runner's grapevine that there's this crazy guy running 67 miles for his birthday. And we had posted the route. And he's like, look, I just got to find this guy. I just need to run with him. They had never met him. They had no idea who this person was. He just wanted to be part of that energy. And so sometimes when you're co-creating, you're not co-creating in a way that other people aren't interested in. He wanted the story. He ran up and down the same street waiting for these runners to run by. And all of these people that are around that runner, my husband's the one in the pink hat, all those people that are running because they just want to be a part, right? So they are stakeholders. So when we're looking at people that are running with him, why did they do it? They want to be part of something that's really interesting, even if they can't run as many miles as that person. So this is my invitation to your chat box. So when you start to think about what you bring to the table, what I'd like you to do is quickly type in 5 things that you personally bring to co-creation. And the reason I want you to think about that and put them in there is not because so that you can each trade them, but so that everybody can get ideas, because I think we forget what makes us available to co-create with. And so by seeing everybody else's, so I would just start hammering in on that chat box of the things that you think are valuable about you as a co-creator. Some of you have a lot of amazing technique. Some of you have a real large depth of knowledge. And the other thing about this is that Karen's going to print off our text box. So, and then she sends it to you. So then you can take all of those ideas with you. I'm going to open it up for people to kind of chat for live for a second. If you have something that is there, just shout it out. Oh, I got a great photos. Okay, keep sending them in. I'm not seeing them come in yet of the 5 things that you are co-creating with. Right, money, ability to think, right? High quality images. Right, Danny, you've got a few here. Love to hear those. Carolyn, love to hear yours. Get them typed in. Synergy, right? Energy, right? I think some of you also have a lot of language. That this is a group full of people who have a lot of knowledge. Vision, I agree with that. Connection, right? Some of you have a following. Resources, leadership, right? Keep them coming, keep them coming. I'm not seeing 5 for everybody yet. Brianna, you've got a whole list. Let's get that in there. You've got a lot more than creative. You've got podcasting skills. You've got a place where people can also, hand you money, right? Think about how many ways people can support the work that you're doing. And that's because of the amount of people that you reach. A lot of you have very authentic markets. And that is, I think, one of the benefits for all of you is that you have that. Kathy, when I think about your knowledge, again, you're much more than just somebody who can pick a faucet. That you have a lot of creativity, you know how to make things beautiful. You know how to do a lot of items. I'm going to keep letting you kind of post in there because I think it's helpful to know what it is that you can bring. When you are thinking about this, it's another way that I would think about co-creation and what you're trying to create is I think the question to ask yourself is, where would more be great? Right? So when we think about all of the different products that some of you are doing, right, the easiest way to kind of wrap your little fingers around a concept is to say, where in my ideas would more be great? And that kind of helps you lead towards the creators that you want to play with. Nancy, you're just sort of having people show up because you're also using your secret powers, right? That you know how to manifest and they start to show up in the door. And a lot of you work with manifestation concepts, but this is a little more of a way to start mapping them out. This is where a bubble chart is really helpful, but just to basically think about where is more great. Harvard has done an enormous amount of study on this. So if you type into Google for an article as something you can take with you later, I would look up Harvard Business Review and then look in co-creating, because they've done a large body of knowledge on this, because they've done it in ways from small businesses like you to large brands doing cooperative items and towards brands taking other brands inside of them. And so when you start to look at the small things that you're looking to start with, where do you start? Where do you start? And you start with something that's a low stakes win. And you're not looking for, a huge item, you're looking for a low stakes win. So when you start looking at that, I'll use Jamian's balloon person as an example, right? That she had somebody who had a specific skill. She just tested them on one item. And then the next part is where the real learning is here, is you then look at not to go, oh, let me try them on a second project or something different. It's to say, how do we just expand the parameters, the perimeter, not parameter, perimeter, right? So if we're expanding the perimeter on somebody who does a decoration for a party, then we would try them on, right? Expand the perimeter of what they are is how many parties like that can they do, right? We'll start with one, low stakes, win or lose, then start looking at them as, right, a perimeter of, let me try this in multiple places, but it's the same concept. This is the key takeaway from Harvard, is to not bounce around, to really look at one low stakes win, low stakes effort. It's also a chance to fail really inconspicuously, but to look at that low stakes and then focus on one that you can just expand the perimeter. And that kind of changes what you'll pick. So what we want to, in your mind, is I want you to kind of prep your mind in that way, is that you're really setting, it's kind of like meal planning, right? Is you're going to set the table for the outcome that you want before. So sometimes that's looking at what's already in your skill set, right? What's in the fridge? What are the foods I want to do, right? But you're going to prep your mind for what is it that you're going to set on the table. And then from there, you can change the menu items as you create. So you've picked a low stakes win, you've perhaps extended the perimeter at which it can function. And then you're going back in and going, okay, these are the things that we're good at. Now let's add another menu item. And that's when you pick a second item. This is the screen you'll see 3 times. So you'll see this 3 times, and this is the one where you'll really kind of panic, but I wouldn't, because it has a lot of information. So this is the critical item in Target. So for those of you who haven't used the traction method, this is a class we've taught before. I'm willing to bet that you're probably going to ask me to teach it again. But the traction model is really for sales efficiency. So we're just going to change the silhouette of it to this concept. And the silhouette of it is really that there's a target, right? There's a target, and as you move towards the target, right, you get more points towards the middle. When you're looking at co-creation, you're looking again to hit a target. And what is the target? And sometimes all of you will have different targets. And even if you're picking something further out on the target, hitting that may still be a win, but the win is only a goal that leads towards something bigger. So you're going to want to define your target. This is not the way that it is set up. I just happen to put these things on as items that I think would be really interesting to you guys. So this, you'll make this cohesively yours in what you're trying to create. But again, the outside are things that are a little wider net, and you're leading into the things that are a tighter net. And one of the things that you'll notice about the middle is that you see sales, and then you hear repeat business. And that's really where most of you are really looking to hit, is not just a sale. A sale isn't actually long-term prosperity. What we're trying to build is this repeat business. And that's where the larger money is. That's where we talk about building super fans. That's where this is going to go. So again, the theme today is the color green. Every time you see green today, I want you to think about that prosperity messaging of, right, how many different ways we see, right, wealth available, right? You've seen a lot of different colors of green in these slides. So again, that is our goal, is to build wealth in your business models. So I saw Mike sneak in. Mike, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to stop the share and let you introduce yourself to the group. Mike, give us a shout out, and then put your info in the text box. So just go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Welton of Mike Welton Art, selling paintings and prints and such. I've been doing that 17 years and stuff.
Right, and you're down at Northrop King, right?
Right. And I know Mickey invited me and stuff. She's been a long time supporter and collector of my work and stuff. So
yeah, well, I'm going to start my video for a second and say thank you.
Oh, I thought, okay.
Right. How are you? Glad to be here. Please put your info in the text box. We'll want to see that art. For those of you who maybe see pictures of my house and so forth, Mike, we lovingly call it the Mike Welton dining room because we have a lot of Mike's work in our house. The other thing about Mike is that he's learning new skills. You've got a class that you're taking too about a lot of business ideas as well. How's that going?
It's good. It's called Making Art, Making Money, and I'm sharing my mission, and the mission ends up to be what sells your art, because I'm trying to find a niche through my mission. So by serving my mission, it's actually creating, or supposed to create business and stuff.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
do you want to, are you there yet? Do you want to share your mission with this group?
Sure. My mission is to produce artwork that allows people to relate to it themselves, in terms of coming from being put down or handicapped in any way while growing up, and by the time they reached like a launching point in their early adulthood, they weren't ready because they didn't know enough, they didn't know enough skills, they didn't know enough. It's exploring how people went from being that way to finding who they really are. So I've created like a graffiti abstract last year, and I'm adding it to my wall paintings that explore that visual concept of, you know, coming out or becoming yourself and stuff. So
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
Oh, glad to see you here. Glad to see you here. Okay,
So
I'm gonna jump.
I share through the chat. Is
Yep,
that what I
just,
share? Okay.
yep, just chat in there, and I'll go back to sharing my screen.
Okay.
Mike, we have a review at the end. This is already audio, but videotaped, so you'll be able to go back in and look for any parts that you've missed. And there's about 18 key points left, so you've got plenty of notes that'll come in for you.
Okay. Thank you.
So kind of bringing us back to class, everybody, that we're looking at targets that make your business successful. And remember, this is when I kind of go, remember the difference between goal and target, right? So your goal are the things that lead you towards a target. So in this case, I used these bottles as examples, right? They're beautiful green glass, but again, it's to say there's a really tiny little place that everything has to go in. So all of our goals have to go in to hit that target. And so in this case, it's defining the targets that you're there to hit, right? So for you, for today, you guys, right, are business owners that also believe that there's a spiritual path here. And so that is, right, that's how I meet that target, is by holding you close and, you know, helping you grow the way that you need to, right, with the prosperity mindset. So when you start to think about your targets and your goals aren't the same thing. And so as you're curating, co-creating, you're inviting people to your target. And then you'll build goals on how you reach that target and how you guys, how you and your co-creators will benefit. And sometimes you'll have the same targets. So when you look at the partners that you're choosing, you're hoping that they will have the same business targets as you, or ones that will align with what you're doing. And so some of the easy ways, right, because I'm just trying to get my fingers around the concepts and ideas, is to really start asking myself that question, right? Not just the one we had before, right? What would I enjoy being bigger? But really, who are the other people that have similar business targets? And when you start kind of putting your ideas together, wow, this loves me today, that you will need kind of a forest, right? A forest isn't just one gigantic tree of ideas, right? It is all these tiny little stick trees that are all coming up at different times. So you're looking for a big forest of ideas. This is where taking an hour with this concept or going back in and re-looking at it, that it's super helpful, because then you can kind of start editing down or streamlining the ideas. I love doing this as a group. I love doing this as a 3-hour class live. When we are eligible to come back, we'll have this as a 3-hour live, where you're eligible to really start working with other teams of people and start putting things on the board. Sometimes I find it's easier to work at it a little bit by myself on a piece of paper and then come in with a group of people. So when you're looking at your ideas, this is where you just sort of brain dump forward of what's the list? What are the topics and directions that would help me get to that target? What are the goals that would align you towards the target? That's the basis of traction. And traction, you can look up, it's a book, it's a whole business model, but it's a business model specifically for sales and editing out everything that's not critical to you hitting a target. There are a lot of trainers in the world on this. I assign traction to any business that's in a high growth model that they need to grow really quickly. So what else do your target sales need to do? So sometimes the key point I want you to take of this is that sometimes you just need a new vibe. You just need, it's just got to be freshened. It's just got to be hip. If VJ Smith is good at one thing in this group, it's hitting the vibe, right? That sometimes it just needs more excitement around what you're offering, or it needs people to understand how they're getting somewhere. So I'm going to use public radio as an example. So a target for public radio is, right, the key item that people need to pay for programming, right? They need money in the till to be able to stay alive. And so if they start to kind of change the language and give value to the relationship, it makes it a lot easier for them to hit their target. And that means that it's inviting people to invest, right? It's changing the incantation in the language and inviting people to be a member. It's inviting them to the brand concept, which is giving value to the messages to support an independent voice. And this is where we start to look at, right, what are we building towards target? Even though the target is flat out, we need money in the till. There's a lot of things that go with that. So when they're doing their mantra of how do we get to the goals, how do we set goals, how do we invite people to the things that lead us to the direct target, is that they're going to ask, that they're asking the people who listen, right, what they want as a reward, that they're giving you some of the things. They're looking for partnerships that will invite their stakeholders, right? Their donors are the stakeholders to the target outcome. So a lot of times you'll see people that will buy in because of the free gift, or they'll buy in for a specific show. They'll buy in for a lot of different reasons. People are buying into you, your ideas, and your business exactly the same way, right? We just had a huge pie giveaway. Thank you, by the way, Sandy Cleland. We just had a huge pie giveaway from Sandy, that she does this as a gift, right? This is a goal that she has, but the target for her is again, reaching her customers. That's the target, and reaching her customers in a way that isn't salesy, but is that she continues to show that she is a trusted resource, and a trusted resource on a lot of different ways. That's her target. And Sandy, you can also jump in and tell me if I'm wrong, but that's how I've perceived it. When we move to curation of the goals, that's different, right? All of your stakeholders are going to require that you understand curation. And that's curating the goals that are going to move you towards the implementation of the target. So you'll need to consider that round picture of a target transforming itself into a funnel, that middle dot is then, right, the money hole that things are just leading into. Everything leads to the center. So that's what they mean when they say a funnel. They're taking the target and they're morphing it and turning it into like a clay pot that turns into a funnel. And that's where you're starting to look at, okay, when we're co-creating, how do we build this funnel to lead towards the target? And that funnel is tasks, it's relay points, it's feedback, it's timeline, it's measurement tools. You're going to want to have those concepts before you show up at your friend's door. You're going to want to have an idea of how it can work, and then you'll move it from there. So again, just a reminder of what that target may look like for you. And now when you start to see this picture, now you can kind of see how it turns into a funnel, right? From brand recognition all the way down to referrals, trust, sales, crossover, right? All those things start to melt in as a funnel to the middle. And you can pick up co-creation partners on any part of the funnel, on any part of this. They don't all have to be the same co-creative team or ideal, because the people that you're creating a cash cow with will use Jamie Ann's card game, that they're coming in, but they're not necessarily coming in at the same place that our NFL player is coming in, right? So, but they're all coming in as brand recognition. They're all coming in as the co-creation of multiple brands that she's creating. So the winery is part of that. So when we look at the other pieces that many of you are doing multiple businesses, when we look at A Little Dirt Don't Hurt, right? The brand recognition tells you one thing, but it's the repeat business of somebody buying from her over and over and over again. The other side note that I kind of want to insert here for you is all of those ideas are great, but some of you are really building brand value. And for those of you who are a little bit further ahead, I think this is going to apply to a bunch of you. I think that's going to, Sandy, you're in this category, VJ, you're in this category, Jamie, and you're in this category. I think that some of the projects that you're doing that many of you are in. And so what sometimes you're really looking at the brand value. And so when you're building brand value, you're really looking at something that takes the price of your current products and having them viewed by the public as having more value. And that can be for a lot of reasons. It could be just that it's more valuable, but it can be the perception. So if any of you have bought a handbag and the name brand on that handbag was important to you, you understand brand value, right? That there's a lot of things that come into brand value. And I call that kind of, that comes into valuation, which I lovingly refer to as fancy money, right? The fancy money part. This is where doing business with you, I'll just pay the extra. That's the fancy money. That's because it's authentic. That's because it has a scope. That can be the leverage of the brand. This can be the artistic impact of the brand. That's where the fancy money is for you in co-creating, is understanding the valuation. And so when we go to Carolyn's work in creating what she's trying to create, it's really, this is where valuation is going to be critical, right? That she's got an enormous amount of skills that are over a long period of time, and that she's already aligned with other brands that bring the valuation of her work higher. So for those of you who are working with other people, that's where the fancy money is. It's the people that you're standing next to, and how does that change your valuation? So some of you today in co-creation are going to be focusing in on those sales targets. Again, these are goals. Even if you're building brand value, it's still on that chart. It's still leading to sales. I use this picture as an example of brand value and the incantation of your language, right? This is a plant. This is a beautiful young woman holding a plant. Now you'll pay a price for that plant, but if I then told you that this is actually a prosperity plant, suddenly the value of that plant changes. If I tell you that this is a prosperity plant that had some other magic to it or had a story behind it, the price of it would change again, right? So the value changes, and the value changes when it's attached to a brand or a story or something else there. So sometimes you're building with your co-creating, you're going to be building synergies with other people for the brand value and valuation, and sometimes you're just going to go right to sales. So these are different parts on that circle. Key point item storytelling, right? So again, I told you there's a lot of content in today. I kind of am overwhelming you a little bit. I'm sorry. But you can just take a breath. Remember, you get to watch it again. But, and many of you have seen some of these ideas before. For those of you who are new, you can always go back to the other classes so you can catch up, or you can gather other ideas. They're online. So when Karen sends you the video, you can always just link there and it'll show you the other classes that we've already taught. But key point storytelling, right? This is a key part in your co-creation. And if you haven't worked on your storytelling, it's going to be critical for you as setting that table. Because setting that table, you will need to be able to understand your story. So what is the story of what you're doing, and your business, and what is it, that story that makes you desirable as a stakeholder. So I'll give you an example from some of you who have been in this class, that how did you get here? You got here because you maybe saw something else that I've taught, or that you've actually seen the other success stories, that those success stories are real, that those people telling their own story make it a lot easier to go, hey, maybe I should go to that class, right? So when you're thinking about how you're going to do your storytelling, think about who you're going to co-create with, and really looking at, you know, can you guest chat with somebody? You know, what's the street cred that you have? Many of you are thought leaders, really defining your message and then bringing that defined message to other stakeholders, bringing that defined message to other co-creators. This is the most abstract of the idea and the key points that I'm going to give you today, because it's really looking at how do you co-create with an idea, not necessarily a person or a business. And it's a little abstract, but it allows you to say, here's the idea that we're working with, and then everyone else can kind of, you know, pile in. So the idea that we're looking at, sometimes you guys are working with trends or just basic knowledge. Some of you are wanting to create something that's deliciously new in a marketplace, or an underserved market. I'll give you an example from a project that I'm working on last night, which they just hired me, is working on an app specifically for people with autism and how they can meet other people, right? So that's something that's deliciously new to the market. And so those IT people knew another project that I had sold in the marketplace, so that they're like, okay, how did you get that app up and running? How did you get it sold? So when you're looking at that, sometimes there's an idea, there's something deliciously new that you're bringing to the market. So I use Tesla as an example, right? So Tesla, right? We had that CEO say, no, here's what I'm trying to do. I need all of you to think about the fact that if you don't change the way you're working on this earth, we don't have a backup plan. It's simple, it's easy to do, but that's an idea. And it's an idea that you can either align to or not. Many of you have ideas around the services that you're delivering. Many of you have ideas that you are going to co-create with as an idea, not just a trend. And what are you going to bring to that? And if you're picking that as the homework that you're going to do, I would start to pretend that it's sitting next to you at the table. And where that new idea is, I would just have that idea sit across from the table with you and start creating ideas as if it were a person. And start just talking about it as a product, as sales, as marketing, as intrigue and storytelling. And that's where you start to really create with the idea. And that will also make you a better brand partner. It makes it dynamic when people can see it. So next topic item, right? A key point here in your co-creation is understanding flow. A river can have a lot of twists and turns in it. A different part of the river may look like something different than the other, but the fact is, it's a river. It will always flow in a single direction. So when you're thinking about partnerships, right? What are we doing? What are the ideas? All of this messaging, multiple companies. Even if you're delivering on many different brands, frequently there's a flow that's coming through that. So think about that. It's always going in one direction. The direction has a beginning and an end. And the direction I'm always going to tell you from my perspective and why that river I chose is green is, right, we want all of those things to flow towards the target of money, right? So your creation and the things that you're doing with those stakeholders You're going to want to curate them so they have a flow. And that's a clear pathway. And then comes pace. So that's another key point that you'll want to write down is the pace setting. How fast will your river flow? And so sometimes that's delivering content, that's deciding at what speed you're going to work. It's really much harder to work at the space of a fast moving vehicle. So when you're thinking about pace, there's two ideas I want you to think about. One, right, is this one. It's a bike ride, not a spaceship ride. It's a bike ride, not a spaceship ride. So when you're thinking about pace, this is gentle. This is gentle. And this is also where I see businesses become overzealous, fast out of the gate, or in sometimes reckless, because they're thinking, wow, I'm an adventurer. I'm just going to go out there and see what's happening. It's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. When you're thinking about yourself as a stakeholder and creating new ways, you're not going without a clear destination. So I think about this as a cartographer, right? Somebody who's a map maker. They're setting out to move forward on a map that already has some points outlined. They have a destination. And the adventure that they're having is they're investing in a journey that has additional resources on the same map. So the example I give is, it's a lot easier to climb a mountain. If you're going up Mount Everest, super helpful to have gear. Now that ticket on Mount Everest is one cost and the gear is another. Many people are bringing in partners to something that, like climbing Everest. And Everest is an extreme example because that climber might not make it. They may not get to summit, they may not get to whatever, but they're willing to invest in the adventure. And that part I want you to really think with you, because a lot of people in this group are high performers and you like it to go well and you want it to be perfect all the time. But people are willing to invest even if you're not going to summit. The fact that you're just growing and that you're valuable is enough. So, you know, perfection here isn't needed. On your list, this is another key point. I think this is where you can really take a breath and co-create in a way that's a little easier, is to look at who you're already working with. And go back to that part where we said, oh, right, the picture of the wide eyes of low stakes win, right, is look at who you're working with and then pick a low stakes win and say, here's how we can work this low stakes win. Let's try it. And then let's expand the perimeter. So the low stakes win may be with one customer, the perimeter expansion may be with 10. And the other part of that stakeholder is, if you're already working with them, chances are they're fantastic. So if you're working with people and you don't love them, they can't stay, because they're gonna really not help your journey. So when you're looking at the people that you're already working with and you know that these are your top players and these are great, they're also looking to appreciate you in another way. They already appreciate your work. They already appreciate the way you're working together. So you're also looking for other ways to contribute to each other financially. So it may be, I'll use an example for some of the products that we talked about today. It may be wholesaling your product to someone. So when I think about that card game, or I think about the planner, right, that who can I wholesale those to so they can sell them and make some money too? And that's where you kind of leverage. I would say half of this group already has a fan base, if not 3/4 of you. And your fan base loves you already. So in your co-creation list, I would really add them to someone that you can co-create with, because they're already interested but many of them are devoted. They already believe that what you create has value. They already receive value. They want to give you value. So, you know, they can also help you. So I would just look at your existing fan base and just start to kind of go, okay, who would I like to do more, be more, see more, enjoy more with? Another key point from today is the small and mighty pollinators, right? This is the buzz that leads to sales. And for some of you, that may be co-creating with marketing ads, right? These little buzzes that you can invest in may not be a person. It may be an ad campaign. It may be looking at Facebook ads. It may be reaching to a new audience. That those small pollinators of, if you've ever bought something or you've ever clicked on something off of your Facebook ad, you understand those mighty pollinators. And the reason that you have so many ads isn't because they just happen to be there. These are small but mighty. So you can target an audience and you can target an audience. For those of you who are on Facebook or Instagram, they're monitoring everything you do on your phone. They know every website that you are hitting. If you've ever just said a word in a room and suddenly you start seeing an ad on that, Google's listening. They're listening to everything. So again, right, building buzz in a way that's helpful for you. And sometimes that's just an ad campaign. Another key point for you may be an adjacent group. And we talked about this when we were looking at brand building in general, when we talked about building a marketing deck. But those adjacent groups are great co-creators. It's people that are working in something that's similar but different. And it's also in a place where you can have a product stretch. So when we look at Kathy's business model, right? The stakeholder that's easy for her was to work with people who are building things and tearing things out and remodeling all the time. And then when she starts to look at that product stretch, it is in people that just want to make small changes, right? People who just go, oh, let me do this small project. How do I pick that out? How do I find all the other things? What I remind people about Kathy, right, Everything Beautiful, is that she can tell you what's going to go wrong before you actually do it, right? So there's a product stretch. So how many people would like to know in your dreaming process what's going to go wrong before you start actually buying stuff, right? That's a product stretch. That's someone who's still in the dream phase. And so they can dream more efficiently. Who wouldn't love to dream more efficiently? When I think about why I love this class so much, why I love doing this with you, is it hits my fun bone. It makes it fun. And if I were going to take on the energy of what is the prosperity energy that you want to attach yourself with, to execute requires an enormous amount of work. And that's tactical and technical item to execute well. That is effort. That doesn't necessarily mean hardship. But here's where I would go, is the energy on the fun of it is why would you put in that amount of effort? Why would you do all of that work? Why would you take these 18 points down today? Is because it's just going to be fun. That you get to do things that's bigger than what you can do by yourself. You get better optics, you get a lot of other things. And sometimes co-creation, of course, fails, or it doesn't get where you want, or it opens a door that you weren't expecting. But the reality is that you get to do fun stuff. And that's, I think, where I would just dig in, is that it's just more fun. It's just more fun. It's more fun to play with people you like. For those of you who have wonderful business partners now, you know you love working with those people. Let's have more. The concept clarification in this slide is just a reminder that focusing in on a tiny section is actually better for you than trying to build this huge, large arc of ideas. So if I were going to focus in on something, for those of you who are in retail, this is where I often start, which is to just check out the receipt you're handing people, right? So how can I create, right? How can I create synergy with my existing stakeholder, which is a customer, right? How can I invite them to something different? And if you've ever gone to Walgreens and gotten that receipt that comes out and comes out and comes out and comes out, right? You're getting special offers. Now you can throw those away, but 99% of people look at the other little coupons. And when they stopped looking at them, what Walgreens did is they started putting money in there. So and that is a calculated item. So after so many times that you've run through that register, or the amount of time has been too long, they'll hit you with another offer that says, if you come back, you can have $5 free if you spend another 25 or $7 or something like that, right? This is a way for them to reach their stakeholders, to co-create with other people, and to get you back into the store, right? For that target of being a repeat customer. Because if Walgreens is good at one thing, it's the end cap, right? That we love to buy something at the checkout line. Maybe it's just me. Another way that you can do is annual events. We had that just with Sandy, with her big pie event. It may be an automatic contest. If you come to any of our events in the year, you're automatically put in for this special item. Another tool that I look at is an app called Honey, which is a browsing tool. It's something that you add to your browser. And what Honey did is it created all these other relationships so that when you put that on your browser, there's sometimes extra deals there for you. So those are examples of co-creating. When you're thinking about the over amount of information that I handed you today, I would just, and you want to sit back and go, oh my gosh, this is so much data, is I would just look at the ecology of your business and just gently, thoughtfully, and lovingly look at it as a business model, as its own, special beast that it is, and just look at it and just kind of say, well, what does it need? What does my business model need for it to be healthy, vibrant, and diverse? And after I've given you all this knowledge, it should pop into your mind, right? Sometimes it's not forcing the door into the tactical, but gently coming into the idea of, what would this feel like? How would this feel better? And I think that's another way to kind of get into it. And the last kind of piece of knowledge here that I'm going to give you is that don't get snagged up, right? If this is the mixtape of your life, that's why I chose this image, right? That we've all been here. Everyone here is been around enough to remember screwing up a cassette tape, right? If we focus on how the cassette tape works, it's not going to help you. You want to focus on what's the music on that tape, right? So again, that's why this toucan is here, right? Look at the ecology, focus on the vibe, the feeling, the thing that makes you great. You are the first stakeholder, and the energy that you're bringing is correct. I haven't met anybody yet that didn't know what they're good at something. So again, I'm going to remind you of the 3 lists. Here's our review, right? The ideas and topics, the people that you want to partner with, and then the products that you could have created if you had help. And number 3 is the largest bite. It's the largest bite. At the bottom of this slide, I do always put my real email address. So for those of you who don't have my real email address, this is your opportunity. That a lot of you just still have my Gmail address. So just to let you know, there's a second one, a real one. But again, I'm just showing this target again so you can take another look at it. Because after you've seen all these key points, I think it feels different. It actually feels a little easier because you've already invested an enormous amount into your ideas, in generosity, in kind of how to crush it, right? And really looking at, how do my people find me? And you already have some people, but we're kind of looking at more people, and how do we bring them into the concept? So again, focusing in on those targets. And if you were going to pick targets, I would just pick 3 and really define those targets, and then align your goals as the difference. And I think that's where most people in business fail, as understanding the difference between goals and targets, and the purpose of a target versus a goal. So if you're going to take one thing away, that's what I'd like you to take away from today, is before you even start to look at co-creation, is to look at, what are the targets that you have, and what are you doing to hit that target? I think that's the place where you'll see the most illumination and the most availability for growth, is understanding that. Don't forget, you saw a lot of green today. Every slide I chose for you today was completely vibrantly different than the next, not without effort. But again, right, all of you are vibrantly different. The money that you're creating, that is the point of prosperity. There's an unlimited amount of ways for you to partner with people, for you to re-visualize, reorganize, tactically move forward. It is unlimited in how many ways you get to move forward. So with that, woohoo, I'm going to bring us back to share and kind of get some of your feedback. Was that helpful? This is where you can kind of open up. And this is where I'll start to get, what are you taking away? So VJ, I'll start with you. Was that helpful? What are you taking away?
Mickey, you look great today. First, let me say that. And
do you miss me yet? Do you miss me? You're so far away.
And you know, our monthly lunches, it's like clockwork, and we haven't had it for a while, so I'm gonna have to fly down there. But the biggest piece is goals and targets. I think we set goals and we forget about the target piece, and I think that's huge, and we must define that. You know, what's the target? What is the target? So you can look at that target. You know, me and Brianna have been working together, and we've been setting up some, you know, some post-it sheets with goals and targets, you know, goals and targets that we're looking at. And the goal's $1 million, you know, and how do you do that? And what does it take? And what do you need to read? And what do you study? And we're doing a number of things. So that's very helpful. Also, the sharing what your 5 things are. When you talk about what are those 5 things that you bring to the table that are really, and to be able to come up with it like that is important. And to be able to share, I was talking about social media, and I'll be done with this. Social media is important, but you have to know how to use it. So as I'm learning how to use it more and more, I'm noticing that the impact that it has is based upon how I use it. So
yeah,
so I learned
that's
a lot.
great. Did I hear a confession? Did I hear a little goal that you shared? Do you have a $1 million goal, revenue goal?
$1 million, yeah, $1 million.
Did I hear that right?
I'm trying to
that just
beat out
popped
the
out.
Duchess. See, I'm trying to beat out the Duchess. I know she's on here, but me and Brianna are trying to beat her out if we can, you know, because she's reaching, she's getting there. We're trying to catch up.
Oh, I'm loving this. I feel as though a gauntlet has, you know, that we just have this. I'm watching her just kind of gear up. This is fantastic. I definitely want to be on that $1 million goal. I definitely want to be on that $1 million goal. Mike, what are you taking away from today?
What did I take away?
Yeah.
I think the goals, having like smarter goals, like for me, like goals are like smaller things, and then the target is like thinking in terms of like how can I make those goals smarter by looking at like avenues to get there and stuff, and
Yeah.
just broaden that out.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad you're here. I have a vested interest in you. Jamie, I know you're dying to respond. After that, I'm going to Janet. Jamie, what are you taking away from today? And the gauntlet, wow.
Bring it on, Duchess.
Uh, well, I'm very competitive, so that's probably not a good thing to say to me. But how about we just get it together and get there together? I prefer to be able to travel and spend the money with somebody else.
I like that.
But
You know,
I am taking away. I do have a question though. Really quick is how do I? I'm very fearful sometimes in procreating of protecting my intellectual property, and into that getting in the time together. Like I think how do you protect that and still have and open conversations without like sometimes when I hand somebody a non-compete clause or a non-compete agreement or whatever, it almost stops the natural interaction with them. So that was one of my biggest question is like, how do I protect that by and still co-create with somebody?
Well, that's called a velvet
And
hammer.
then my takeaway.
That right there is called the
Okay.
velvet hammer. You and VJ can work on that together, which is to help someone know that the hammer's coming. To go, I want to be able to move forward with you. We have a lot of intellectual property to move forward with. So when we get to step 2, just know that there's an NDA.
Okay. And then my thing is just I've been working on my targets more than my goals. I move in goals in my thought process, but for me, life in this last year and a half and stuff has been to hit my targets.
Yes.
Those targets have been completely wrapped around financial targets and branding targets. I'm hitting the financial targets at a very fast rate. I'm still working through the branding targets and what that looks down. So I just really kind of took some notes as far as that part of it goes, and going to go and create with my team of our targets as far as branding goes. I am actually familiar with that Harvard Business Review on co-creating, but I'm going to go back to it again and look at and just kind of go through that again and just kind of look at as far as that goes. I do co-create a lot because that's just the nature of my business. For me.
you're breaking up.
Oh, you're breaking up. Okay. Well, I'm gonna come back to us, but what I will say is
Can I respond to
both,
what she said?
both
Can I respond?
VJ and Jamie, and for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, these are big numbers and big goals, I just remind you that they were part of the summer cohort, so they're a little bit further ahead than some of the other people in the group. And summer cohort really does kind of move things forward. So don't panic if you don't have $1 million goal, but they're just further along. And I think the traction piece, Jamie, and you keep kind of breaking up from us, but what I will do is I'll push it back into our next cohort meeting because I think that's a place to really do it. VJ, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I want to respond to that. I want to thank Jamie because I think that's another piece that we find out when we're in a group like this, that we want to look out for each other. And as she said, I'm competitive, but because we have love for each other, we want to help each other get to that goal. And I appreciate that. And I will be calling her on that. Me and Brianna will be talking to her.
Good.
But that's important to understand.
Thank you.
When you're in a group like this, you begin to build friendship, partnerships, and your goals and targets kind of align together. So like you said, we're part of another cohort coming in and bringing some of that in, saying that we're building a family. So being a part of Mickey Michworth's family brings you into a whole bigger family.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Mickey?
Yes.
Yes, we lost about 15 minutes to technical difficulties at the beginning. So I'm hoping people can stay at past 11 o'clock so you can get all the way around.
Yeah, I do want to invite you. I do apologize for my technical loveness here. So if you can stay a little extra, because this is technically, we have 3 minutes left, but I would like you all to be able to share what you're taking away. So Kathy, I'm going to come to you because we can see you now.
Okay, perfect, because I actually have to run. I am giving a presentation at 11 for a networking group that I am a part of. So that will be interesting. No, it'll be good. It'll be good. My takeaway was, I guess I never thought of targets and goals together or as separate entities, and that one leads to another. I'm not really a big fan of goal setting in general because it exacerbates my fear of failure and it makes me not do anything. So I tend to not goal set, but I like the idea of having a target because then it doesn't feel like a goal. It's like, oh, well, my plan is to get there. Like, I just want to get there. And then I feel like my brain will kind of navigate that as a goal without it having that weird intimidation thing.
Right. And I think where the people who have had to do this work a little bit more in depth, I think Brianna can probably answer that as well, is having someone else grow with you and keep you aligned makes it a lot easier. And that's just being an overachiever. You know, they like to do that.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
And so I'm actually happy you brought that up. I think the biggest thing and that I struggle with in the very beginning is that I don't like to bring people in with my babies. Like, I see my businesses as these are my babies, right? These are my ideas that I came up with. These are the concepts. I worked really, really hard, but I had a lot of burnout early. And so I've been a business owner almost 2 years, and I've been in the hospital like 4 times within those 2 years because of burnout. And so I had to find a way to bring people in, for one, that I trusted, and then delegate and learning how to not go back and watch what I just gave them. And so it's still a constant struggle. I do have 2 assistants, which is great because that's better than what I had before prior. But it allows me to say, you know what, Brianna, you don't have to be able to do everything. And then say, you know what, if you teach them, then it's really easy. So I've been really focusing on the training aspect. Mickey and also my goddad, VJ, challenged me a lot to like train someone how to do it the way that you want them to do it. But then you have to walk away from it. And so that's been my biggest.
Right. I think that's great feedback. Tell us what you're taking away today, Brianna. Thanks for coming in during class, by the way.
Of course. Oh, I've been doing work you should have seen. You see my camera go off. I was talking to students. But yeah, so the biggest thing that I did, took away was build the brand value. Jamie and typed something in the chat that kind of registered, right? I love Coach purses, and I actually think they're better than all of the expensive brands. Their leather is a lot more quality. Like, for instance, this is my Coach purse that I paid $500 for. This thing is like, good God, I love it, right? However, the thing about Coach is that I don't think that, now I love it. I understand that they have a quality product, but what Gucci and Prada and YSL and all these other brands, they're really focused on building the value of their brand and getting these consumers to pay X amount of dollars for something that's not even the same quality for something that's cheaper. Like, people fail to realize, I realized when I was listening to build the brand value, I was thinking about the Steve Madden shoes. Steve Madden shoes are probably the best quality leather shoe that you can purchase, and they're super cheap and affordable. Prada literally purchases their same shoe from the same vendor, the leather, and they sell it for 16 times the amount of a Steve Madden shoe, all because they built their brand value. So that right there was the biggest takeaway for me. And then also the next one was understanding the difference between a goal and a target, and being very intentional about setting my targets versus I'm very goal oriented, but I think that I set goals with no direction, and a target gives me a direction.
I got to tell you, I think for you, that difference between target and goal, for you personally, the amount of athletic training that you have had, this will feel like a relief because you absolutely understand it within just cellularly. I think you understand it cellularly. So thank you for coming to class. I'm glad to see you. All right, Janet Mills, what are you taking away? And then you.
Taking off from what Kathy said, so I get fired up from this. There's huge energy, there's vast goals, there's $1 million gauntlets thrown down, and this comprehensive thing that you've taught us all today, Mickey. But then you take it down to bite size so we can do it. And I found 2 things. One was I was just thinking, I don't know if I have mega energy. And then right then you said you need the gentle bike ride pace. Like, so pick your pace, just move forward. And then the other one was the low stakes win, the Harvard Business Review. Don't bounce around, pick something little and just go and expand out. So you gave us vastness, Mickey, but you let us find a way into it.
Good. Well, thank you. I love that. I love that. Okay, Danny, what are you taking away today? Well, she might be on a call. Okay, Danny, when you get back, let me know. Carolyn, let me come to you, and then Nancy, I'm coming to you.
Okay, great. And then I have to run right after this, but like Brianna was saying, the brand value part was really got me thinking, and and the kind of I don't have a product in terms of a tangible thing. Everything that I do is more intangible. And so as I was listening, I was really thinking about, everything you were saying about like your street cred and your people that are standing with you and all those more tangible things that create your brand value really registered with me.
Good, good. Oh, Danny's back. Let's go to Danny, and then Nancy, I'm coming to you.
Hi,
Danny, what are
so
you taking away?
I'm taking away that my goals are more like arrows to the target instead of the target, which is kind of a new concept because I struggle with goals anyway. They're like, set a goal, and I'm like, why? That sounds stressful. So using a goal as an instrument versus a target is the biggest thing.
Yeah, good, good. I love it. Nancy, what are you walking away with today?
First of all, Mickey, you're a fire hose. I love it. So the data is overwhelming, and I agree with Janet that what I love mostly is I tend to be umbrella, and I need lines to the detail, and you gave me that. I really, the takeaway here is that this is doable. I can do it. I keep waking up in the middle of the night with these visions of this episodes of this television series, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? So now I have concrete. You've given me concrete steps to get there, even though it was a fire hose of information.
I apologize to everyone.
No.
There's just so much.
No.
But again, you can rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah, don't apologize, because that's what a textbook is. Who could swallow a textbook in one bite, please? So no, that's good. And I really am taking away that the synergy of, I didn't really clue into co-create. I now understand that it takes a village. And the other thing I took away too from is, and someone else here mentioned it as well, is that don't allow external opinion kill you, stop you. And I think that's what you were getting at with Target. And by the way, I have to just add on a side here that, is it correct to say that you asking every one of us of our feedback is a brand value that you're creating? Am I learning?
You're learning.
Okay.
You're learning.
So I've got more to go. So
well, you're doing it right. Here's another thing of why I always ask you what you learned today, is because we learn from each other. That I can teach a class, and you've been in class live. You're somebody that's gotten to be in some of the big classes that are hard, and monetary identity, it's the hardest class you could go to.
That was amazing.
It is hard though, yes. But you've been in class live, and I can teach the same class, and everybody has it has a different takeaway. Yeah. Even though you all saw the same material. So part of that is that I count on the fact that all of you are brilliant, and that you'll mirror something to me that also, that you go, oh, I need that little, I forgot that. Yeah. Right, we're all writing down that little dab of brilliance. Yeah. So yeah, you're onto it. Thanks.
With my spiritual background and my
not background, my spiritual focus and the massive targets that I have with, because I love your target and goal difference. That's brilliant. And it helps you. You offer the rungs to a ladder. Thank you.
Yes.
And you can't get to the top of the ladder unless you go through every damn rung, pretty much. And then another quick aside, if I may, VJ, I'd love to hear at some point what you believe is the proper way to manage social media, because you have some idea there that I didn't glean. I'd love to hear it. So, okay, and now I'm done. Thanks.
I would definitely reach out. VJ, leave your contact info in, and then you can just come back. Sandy, the beginning of us and the end of us. You get to be my bookend of love here.
All right, sounds
What are you
good.
taking away?
Well, that was really a lot of information. I hadn't thought of goals versus targets, I guess, but I think I do for myself. I think I work more with targets. I'm going to do this and this. So one of the things I took away was the brand value. That is something that I'm always working on. I feel like I am a higher brand value. Yes. I try to give a lot of value. And I think that the people that work with me, that choose to work with me, like they get it. The people that don't work with me, well, maybe somebody they perceived as a higher brand, or maybe they just wanted, the discount. So I'm always working on that, how to show, that higher value. And so that's something that I constantly work on. The other thing that I want to incorporate into my business is the storytelling. I've never quite figured out how to do that. And another thing is I want to do more videos in my business. And I think that will add to the brand. I think they both would add to the brand. So those are my takeaways for today.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please.
So as somebody who's gotten to watch you grow for a long time now, I think one of the things that is really so stunning, and we can really see it now, versus if I just go back to 2010.
Have you known me since 2010?
Right. So if we look at where you were in 2010,
well,
to now, that's not the same brand.
No.
So if you want to give yourself just a little reminder of how much you have grown and how many times you have been steadily moving forward to creating a brand that is more of a luxury item, right? That look, I don't know what your pie bill is, but but to be able to swing something like that you couldn't have done that in 2010.
Oh no, I made negative in 2010. That was during the recession.
Right. So when you start to look at the work that you're doing, don't underestimate these incremental gains, because you can absolutely in 2021 look in the mirror and know that you've done the work. So, we'll see you another 5 years before you retire. I might get you another 10. But when you think about where you are now versus what we add another 5 years on, it'll be stunning. It'll be stunning. So I'm excited for your path.
Thanks.
So, okay, Karen Karsten, what are you taking away?
Well, I just wanted to say that goals are a really hard concept for a lot of people. A lot of my clients, they want to set goals, but they feel like everyone else who talked about that it's a recipe for failure because they're not going to make it. So I have them set intentions instead. And that's kind of like a target, but it doesn't feel as hard.
Yeah.
And always the small part, the micro parts are what get them there. And for all of you, that's really an easy part that you can do, is to break things down as small as you can. Maybe you'll get 5 of them done today. And, that's a lot, but the stigma around goal setting is pretty widespread.
Yeah. Well, once again, I did get a little message from Sandy on that, before pies, it was brownies.
It's still brownies. She said it's still brownies.
Oh yeah, it's still brownies. So Sandy makes the best brownies too. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you all again. I am always so honored to
Oh.
be in your presence. I will see you next month. We have another topic. I hope to see you again. And I appreciate you so much for being willing to spend time. Oh, Vijay's got something to say. Oh, give it to us. Are you going to finish us with a
Okay.
blessing? What's going to happen?
So here's what I came up with while we were talking. Like, setting goals is like Thanksgiving dinner. You make a whole lot of food, but you can't eat it all in one day. And that's the same way. You set all these goals, but you can't do them all exactly when you think you can do them, but you keep resetting. And what you'll do, you'll take the turkey and make soup. You'll take a little turkey, you'll make sandwiches. And that's how goals have to be. You can't let them frustrate you. You can't let them bring you down. You can't let them drag you down. You just take a piece at a time and you refocus, remanage, change it up. And that's how you look at goals. Because if you look at it like, oh my God, I can't do goals, then that's going to frustrate you. But you look at it like it's like Thanksgiving dinner. I set up a big goal, but I know we're not going to eat all this food. I know we're not going to achieve all this, but I'll do what I can, and we'll have soup, and we'll have this, and we'll have that. And that's how go. If you think of goals like that, you can't lose.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
So when we think about that as a Thanksgiving dinner, how would I position that in a prosperity mindset? Is I would remind everyone, right? The point of making that giant meal is to love on people.
Right.
Right? That's the target. And then you're going to make this big meal, and now you're going to have all these other ways to be able to move you towards target. We're going to have soup. We're going to have a sandwich. We're going to have a meal together. We're going to have a grand presentation. We get to have it all.
Eat dessert
And you feel good
first.
about it.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
if you're
like that,
Karen, you're
Mom.
going to eat dessert first.
It also
So-
ties in with today's theme, co-create. Thanksgiving
Co-create.
dinner, you totally co-create. And I didn't have everything ready, and my silent brother-in-law lives down the block. He was just there. And I didn't even know he was like that. I didn't even know he cooked. And he was like this blur next to me, getting it on the table, because I'm not big on that. So anyway, co-create. Thanksgiving dinner is perfect co-creating
I think so
example.
too. I think so too. It was a great ad. Thank you, VJ. Okay. I'm going to wrap my arms around you. Thank you so much for, being the sparkle encrusted people that you are. I do appreciate you so much. So I will see you next month. Again, you have my phone number or email. You're welcome to text anytime, but be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.